Shall we get started? Okay, I'm gonna get started. You can go.
Jumbo, Jumbe, Mondo, Jumbo, Yanga, Jumbe, Sangye, Rebada, Jalbo, Dembora, Deva, Jebo, Jembo, Kalo, Juba, Lana, Mebo, Lada, Mena, Juba, Sangye, Jumbe, Peje, Washaja, Tuba, La, Chaze, Lo, Jodo, Jazu, Jebo. Jumbo, Jonde, De, Jebo, Jumbo, Yanda. Zobe Sanje Rebo Da Shazu Debora Dewa Jebo Jede Jebo Jewo Kalo Juba Lana Meba Kala Mena Je Dembo Sanje Jonde Debe Jewa Shai Tuba La Chaze Lo Chedo Jazu Jewo Dembo Jonde Tishin Jebo Da Jumba Yanda Bo Zobe Sanje Rebo Da Shazu Debo Dewara Jebo Jede Jebo Kalo juba lana meba lana mena je dama sanje jonde de peje shaya toba la jaze lo jodo jazo je o kanze kani zo jodande saje de la gomba de morne mane jikden de la joje zo teze jebo jola jaza Nanda Gongwa Jodo Suzawa Yishi Gyazo Seji Lomora Chaba Jiden Sula Lamewa Gongbo Jini Gyala Jaza Senjo Tenpa Time Dawe Ja Senpo Chawa Gyala Jaza Tute Sundra Siva Suna Ja Nyame Kinsin Gyala Jaza Gombo Tuji Jilenpa Tamje Kepe Trompa Sona Yende Gyazo Je Dejin Shela Jara Tabe Deja Dewa Yu Gewe Yezo Le Jedo Dena Junyo Ba Shinyu Jela Jara Kane Tuwe Na Yang Baba Shinje Damba Yende Gindu Maya Jara Tiba Chia Meja Jin Dewa Bunzum Toba Rangi Sene Yonzundu Tene Sangi Tempai Kamara Mame Mose Bachu Mena Lodan Dindan Diji Chena Didan Sona De Hachi Ziba Yi Goban Dene Kenge Rade Nada Chive Lotrube Sive Sole Dro
To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When the supreme among humans who were born on this earth, he paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, 3 worlds are not. The incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower rungs, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to that Dharma which pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by waves of aging, sickness, and death.
Baba kunjo la ja no de da ge do mo je yon de je bu go mo la ge mo ji ge de che mo chan ju se me ge de che mo da ta bo chi du chu de de se chum de sa mo na wa je ja we chu je na la ge de nge de ma nyo mo ro ya de ju se ba je mo pa ba che re se on chu che ra ge pa ru do che ba sa mo che Nila number Pumbonga Bodeda Laya Raji Tomba number Tau Tene Saji tu Sedan Demba Sharebo Chanju Zembo Zembo Papa Jire Wanjula Dege Jemeso Riji Hu Ala La Shirabi Parudu Amo Cheba Cheba Deba De Da Labar Cha Dege Jemeba Tang Chanju Semba Semba Papa Jire Wanju Gi Sedan Demba Shire Da Ebola Dege Jemeso Sheri Hu Riji Bom Riji Bom Ala La Shiraji Parudu Jeba Samo Cheba Cheba Deba De Didar Namba Tawa Chade Pombo ngabo de da la ya ra shi ji tombo nambar yang tombo che su tao su tombo tombo ni su tao su le tombo ni she ma ye tombo ni le jang su she ma ye no de shen du zoro du she da du ji da nambar she ba na tombo she re bo de da she tang che tombo ni Sinye meba, mageba, magaba, chema meba, chema da chawa, chawa meba, kama meba o. Terebo, deda wena, tumba nila sume, sowa me, duji me, nabare sheba me, mime, nawa me, name, cheme, lume, ime, sume, kame, cheme, rume, recha me, cheme do, nije kame ba me, ije ka, ije nabare shebe, kange, bado yang me do, mariba me, mariba seba me, kashi me, kashi sebe bado yang me do. Teshin do donge wada, kunjung wada, gombada, name, ishe me toba, Toba yang me do, cheri mun, de la mun, chanju semba na toba me be chir, chira de baru do chimba la tenjin ne de semla, chiba me chin, chaba me de chinje lo le shindu de. Yang le de be tharu shindu du sundu namba shube, sange tamje kya shiru baru, chimba la tenne la na me ba yang la baru do be chanju du ngon baru do baru sange, te tawa na shira ki baru do chimbe nga, riba chimbe nga, lana mebe nga, minyamba da nyambe nga, dunge tamje rabu shiva chebe nga, mizuwe na deba shiva chade shirabje baru do chimbe nga, meba te ata gade, para gade, para samgade, buddhi so. Sharibu chanju semba semba jembu deda shiragi baru do jembu samo landa para jabu dene jum dende dinge dele shende chanju semba semba jembu baba jene semba juta lekso shejawa jene leso rigi bu dede shino dede shinde sida juge temba jem shiragi baru do jembu samo la chekwa chade teji shekwa namkyan jesu yirang jum dende dige cheka Sedan temba shari dati boda janju samba samba chabu baba chere se wanchu da tamche da tembe kur teta da lada meda lama yinda tisa jebe jide ye konde deji sumba la mo
11. Thus I have heard, once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgiha on Vulture's Peak, together with a great assembly of monks and Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was totally absorbed in the concentration that examines all phenomena, called profound illumination. And at that same time, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, was engaged in the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, how should those of good family learn who wish to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, replied to the Venerable Shariputra, saying, O Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of good family wishes to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, should look at it like this, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is no other than form, form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, karmic formations, and consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Shariputra, all phenomena are empty without characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are neither impure nor free from impurity. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no karmic formations, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. There are no spheres of the eyes up to no spheres of the mind. There are none of these all the way up to the sphere of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, nor is there destruction of ignorance. There are none of these all the way up to there is no old age and death, nor is there destruction of old age and death. Thus there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, all bodhisattvas hold to the wisdom gone beyond, and because there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond falsity, they reach beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times, by relying on the wisdom gone beyond, fully and clearly awakened to unsurpassed, most perfect and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the wisdom gone beyond, the mantra of great insight, the unequaled and unsurpassed mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering should be known as the truth, for there is no deception. The mantra of the wisdom gone beyond is proclaimed, Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva, Mahasattva should learn the profound wisdom gone beyond. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and praised the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, very good, O son of good family. It is exactly like that. The profound wisdom gone beyond should be practiced exactly as you have said, and then the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the whole gathering and the world with its gods, men, anti-gods, and spirits, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. So ends the noble discourse on the essence of the wisdom gone beyond.
Oh, yes, that ring on the Sabu. Change the rest, change that, change that. Chebola Jobas and Cheba the Garrison, Joseph Cheba, and tell Jubi is. How do you enjoy the person? Check to the rest.
We resume our Thursday evening class on the way of the Bodhisattva. The way is the way of the heirs to the Buddha. This is the training. We enter this training, and we enter this training through listening, contemplation, and meditation.
What God did in the matter that called that time you send the pain. Lu Tambogan on the time you send the pain to get Shebaro, the pain to get the Rangi Turbot, someone at Tene, and the Chanju was similar. Changayana, Prowata. Soon you get again and that Chanju Sim sing this. Gave a yina and pain carry yoba, Jibukari Toku yoba. And around the back on that, that's a good Tamji, Chanju Similar Tene, Chung to yoba. Oh, the Zukanga Lu Tambonana Song that Lu Tambonana Song that Chaju Sim pain that Dembe Chaju Simdi. That Rangi Gula Keber Chebala, Rangi Gula Tosan Gosum, Lobo, Rest, and Lobo, and you sim Gula Kebala, and Chaju Sim Gula Ke to Yaga, so Jachimbo. And so now we thought that she thought that the Jachimbo Demo we are teaching and Luiniba. That the Washabe Lut, and then you will resonance.
Now, as I have said previously, or as I have described previously, bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, confers all sorts of benefits, and it's the first chapter of the way of the Bodhisattva that describes these benefits. One becomes familiar with the benefits of the mind of enlightenment through listening and contemplation. And through listening and contemplation, one gains an interest and an enthusiasm and disciplined effort directed toward the mind of enlightenment. One comes to know the benefits and the results that stem from the mind of enlightenment. All great goods stem from just this, the mind of enlightenment. Now, in order to develop such a mind, to develop bodhicitta, one must train, and the training is the very listening, contemplation, and meditation involved in the mind of enlightenment. But in order to produce the mind of enlightenment, one must have sufficient merit. There are two forms of accumulation, the accumulation of merit and the accumulation of wisdom. These are necessary for the development of the mind of enlightenment, which moves us to the topic of the second chapter, confession, involved in the development of merit.
Oh, yeah, that was a little dinner and conditions that Yala Dunji Bonita. Sonum sa, Sonny Rangi, you with you moved, it was about Tawache, and it's in a Dutch and Jusen Swan, you also was Swan. All to say, but to we are response.
Chapter 2, confession, involves the practice of the 7-branch offering. The objective of the 7-branch offering is to develop merit. That merit is for the purpose of eliminating the negative emotions, the mental afflictions, and the negativities in the mind. For their elimination, one engages in confession. And then the 3rd chapter of the text has to do with holding the mind of enlightenment.
Oh, to say that Luiniba, Yala Dushan, Tambo Chebelu, that cousin of the shade, Chebelu, the rest Chebelu, and it done around the Paganda, Sonam Sayagata, Nan Kecho, and Juju, Tamboji Sunguyores. And Sonam, that on the Chebel, the Udelaten, carriers, Nadamas Kazak on the ship on the subject on Chidu, and it double Masua, the double Sua, and then Lang Lupiwata, and it Lui, Twin Chevapua, or the Giganata, and that Sonam, Ran Sonam Jachimbo Sago, we were in, and it that Chebegi, the most Piwata, and it ran the Piwak, never Menayan, things in the Mebeg on the Punic, and that Rana. Sanjusim Gula Jag, so Sago, Sonam, the Demachi, we are teacher, and then to get the Jayag, Tunji, we are response.
The 2nd chapter, confession, involves the 7-branch offering. In the way of the Bodhisattva, the first branch, according to its presentation, is the branch of offering. Making offerings is for the purpose of accumulating merit, and so it is of first importance, and it is placed first of the 7. Now, there are various forms of offering. One may make offerings of public goods, of private possessions, of one's own body and service, and also mentally emanated or mentally visualized offerings. Now, in order to develop a talent and a skill and power in samadhi, one visualizes offerings. One visualizes offerings for, in order to develop the mind of enlightenment, one must make offerings and develop merit, but one may have very little and may not yet have the talent for samadhi, so one must visualize one's offering.
Oh, to say that, and that one of my soon, the Tambo Rang is Lu Truba, the same Truba, the Tambo Truba, the Rang Mizan to Tabas, the name Chebapu, Yeju, Cheba the Pu, and it in a Rang Lu Pu, and it in a that Lu Tubi, and Cheba the Pu, or the day about Leisure Pu, your resonance.
As I said above, one may make an offering of one's body in service. One may make mentally emanated offerings. And as one does this, makes such offerings, one first purifies that which is impure and then makes the offering. The offerings may be the ordinary offerings that we make daily. They may be made offerings from the body, emanated from the body too.
오투시다 되게 찬다 가정가도 처박이 부여가 라나 매베 처바스게다 간도 테스트시 잘하디어스 달라나 예베 처바스게데 가랑도 되게 퓨투야 여바 소소 가랑도 퓨투야 예베 처바들라 라나 예베 처바스 가랑도 퓨마투야 네 직당 가랑 땡에 진다 아니 직 가사 개발지 좀 퓨야 처바도 이두 안들 라나 매베 처바스 전화들에 손스
Remaining for explanation are offerings of the unexcelled kind, the unexcelled or unsurpassed offerings. We have described the surpassable offerings, those that we make in through our own ordinary abilities, those we're capable of making. But those that surpass this, the unsurpassable offerings, are the sort that are made through the force of samadhi and the very kind that are made by holy beings themselves.
오야 다 계산하고 되기는 처바 표현 유디 아무도 가정 모두도 제자다 간다 말한줄라 군조 산제 점대기 지대도 준비가 되서들라 나라서 군조 모두 제투야게 소남 마음들로 고급 톱이요 말에 소남 당이요 말에 임 재단 대대미도 아니 나라서 군조 딱 모두 제바다 뉴버 총바 시베 치도라 아니 가서 군조 꾸다 탕가다 군조 또 세베 군조 꾸든서 쳐봐 쳐야되네 아니 군조를 쳐봐 쳐고 천대를 청구를 간다 꾸든서 꾸다 샤다들을 라게 차제 쳐봐 표가 있나양 아니 군조를 쳐봐 표가 손남대다 군조 모두 제는 쳐봐 표가다 내가 쳐봐 당하나도 제주의 꾸다 탕가들을 쳐봐 표가도 아니 라게 꿀롱이 마도 다 꿀롱 최종 마도
I've described the personages, the objects to whom offerings are made. This introduction has been made already. But in short, we ourselves don't have the good fortune, the good share of fortune, the good share of merit that would have allowed us to encounter the Buddha when the Buddha came to this earth. We don't have that share of merit to have encountered him at that time. And at present, we meet with representations instead of the Buddha. These representations, pictorial representations, figural representations, are a substitute for us so that we may nevertheless prostrate ourselves, pay homage to, and make offerings to these personages, though we are not meeting the Buddha in person. Depending upon one's attitude, one's intention, nevertheless, with the proper intention, the merit accumulated through making offerings to these representations of the Buddha may be equal to the merit accumulated making offerings to the actual Buddha himself.
다 산제 군조 천세 처법에서 유료도 군조 꾸다 다 수еб에 세상 꾸다 먹고 가리 예바이나 꾸다 집에 꾸 얘는 디고요 다 가자라는 군조 대바 제바이나 라라 손은 토고요 식제 다 최군조디 최군조원에디 다 고된다 남대니래 밥에 주지 산제 좀 되게 주지다 방자니 뭐 방법이 고된 아니 라신기 팀에 다들 아니 뭐이 생기 주니 아니 라신남다 다 어떤 소리에 산지기 유지 람다 또바니 아니 장승 장주 sem바 동ning 무슨도 또배 가사가 주지 아니 람다 또바니 어디 최군조 원에들에서 아니 최군조 원에들라 말아도 담도 최 가도 최 제가 그 디데체네 말아도 데스칼에 가고 요래 다 되게 찹들라 가도 퇴퇴야 가리었으나 대다 장주고 셈니 점버 진얘기 다 최고 강주의 대주가 아니 송럽되겠더라 아니 아주 차세 처법표가 아니 최군조라 차세 처법표가 거쳐봐 아니 전투가 자다 연구열에서
Now, these representations of the Buddha may be of clay or of rare metal. They may be drawn, whatever the medium, with faith. When one makes offerings to such representations, the merit that one receives may be the very same, as though it were the actual Buddha himself. So that's one point. Now, the other point is the actual Dharma itself. The Dharma itself is the Dharma of Nirodha, cessation, and Marga, the path, on the continuum of an Arya. That is the thorough, consummate abandonment of all the mental afflictions to be abandoned, the pure nature body itself. So the continuum of an Arya being who has had direct insight into emptiness, the Dharma is, in this continuum, the path and the realization. Now, it's difficult to make offerings directly to such things, but that which we make offerings to in their stead as a representation and extension of this are the offerings we make to the Dharma, that is the scriptural collection of the Dharma.
Hoya tatena shi gindu gunjo la chashawayna gindu gunjo ngone de da ngoy de karesna ani toni ngosum du to bege chanju sem tanda chanju sem da kundu chanju sem gyula yunyeji kansa de la gindu gunjo sna berwa gindu gunjo sna ore tati gindu gunjo chende de karesna ta gindu gunjo chende de karesna ta ngaso gindu gi de 나가서 지금 용다로 제가 있는 긴들 타와 시유교기 초보지도는 콜라 긴들 다 저거 찍어도 맨날 콜라 강사 긴들 어제다디 콜라 긴들 군조 뒤시잖아 아니 긴들 군조로 제법표 콜라 제법표 긴들시를 상원을 제법표나 아니 긴들로 제법표와 되게 아니 선대 차단 이거 해서
When we speak of the Sangha is the person with the two minds of enlightenment, ultimate mind of enlightenment and conventional mind of enlightenment, ultimate bodhicitta and conventional bodhicitta in their continuum. And we refer to such individuals as the Arya Sangha. The representation, or rather representative of the Sangha generally are any congregation of at minimum four ordained individuals. They are the Sangha. Any one individual is not the Sangha per se, but a mere individual. But where there are four together and offerings are made to these four, that is an offering made to the Sangha.
최 부디만 어찌도 어디 최군조 전대세 일라 차체 저법이나 최군조로 차체 저법으로 우여가지 아디 솔데로 최대이 다 투고 전대로 또 투고 전대 아니 긴두기 전대 차기요 어디 숨 상황도나 아니 겹숨 상황 찌네 아니 차체와이나 아니 군조 숨과 차체와 거쳐봐 그냥 도봐 아니 자산 전대 자산 상계 여러에 손으시.
Now, if we take, for our example, coming into this very temple, and we wish to pay homage to the three jewels, how do we identify the three jewels so that we may do so? In the middle here is the iconic representation of the Buddha. To make offerings and pay homage to this representation of the Buddha is to pay homage to the Buddha. Now on the side you see a collection of texts, and these collection of texts is the Dharma, and should one pay homage to this collection of texts, this is homage to the Dharma. And there is also to the side the stupa. And the stupa is a representation of the very mind of the Buddha and also representative of the Sangha. Now, where these three are present and we pay homage to these three, this is definitely paying homage to the three jewels, and certainly the benefits of doing so will be conferred upon us. Now, when one identifies these three representatives of the three gems and has this idea in mind that these stand for the three, and one makes offerings and pays homage, then the blessing to continuously do so, as though the season were right for continuous offering, this sort of continuous blessing to pay homage continually will be conferred upon one. Now, if one is following in the tradition of the Mahayana and will identify one's very guru as the collection of all perfect refuges in one, then this guru of the Mahayanists is in their body, speech, and mind. In their body, the Buddha; in their voice, their speech, the Dharma; and in their mind, the Sangha. So when one identifies the objects to whom one pays homage in this way, and one is a beginner and identifies the objects of refuge in this way and makes offerings and pays homage to them, then the merit of doing so is equal to the merit of actually making offerings to the Buddha himself.
Oh yeah, that is the thing that the shit that Lana maybe Choba singing. And Lana maybe Choba go to his shit saying about Lana maybe Choba Puzu Karesana. Lana maybe Choba singing that Puzu the Petty Karijari or something, the Pejanala, and it is Jambayang, Sanju Sambo, Kundu Sambo. Konazo with that Choba Pudanchi or Dilla Pejar and Sungi or Esons.
I mentioned the essence of the unsurpassable or the unexcelled offerings, the essence of these, but remaining to be described yet is how one is to make such offerings. So when we wonder how to make such offerings, we find a description of the means for making such offerings in the description of the offerings made by Manjushri and Samantabhadra.
Oh, that's a just some Kundu Sambotan Chabayan, so this Choba Prioresana. And it done that thing Konanzula careers, not thinking Choba Peta, said that Demba Putuya, Choba Yachimbo Putuya careers, thinking yours, thinking Toki, and Choba Pe Mangutunta. The Nanga counted Putin was Puyada, Yang Maimba, Yanti Pake Changa. Chu ya nije to say a partner, Puya, the Lusudo, the Nisujiores, or the Nation and Kunjo Nangata Yamanashi, Pa Yobanashi, and it Chobaya Nangata Yamape Mango, Changa Yamutua, Tachibu, Yachimbu, the Yo Pugu, or things into Pugre, or the day Puya Yotilan, 다 사과매비 쳐봐서그래 라나매비 쳐봐서그래 어디 표고 여러 왔어 대나신 다 알아서 내 담보고 있잖아 대나신 쳐봐 피투야게 아니 미보다 아니 쳐봐들이 피투와들이 보고 여러서
The Bodhisattvas Samantabhadra and Manjushri have their method for making these unsurpassable, unexcelled offerings. The extensive offerings they make, that they are able to make completely and thoroughly, they are able to do so through the force of their samadhi. Through the force of their samadhi, they multiply the offerings they make so that the offerings equal the innumerable Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that fill all of space. And so too, they multiply orders of magnitude, all offerings they make, 10 multiplied to 100 and so on. And in this way, their offerings match the innumerable objects of refuge that fill all of space. And they do this through the force of samadhi. And we call such offerings unexcelled offerings. And we also call them uncontaminated offerings. And for the ordinary beginner, such an ordinary beginner too should train in the ability and the visualization of offerings of this kind.
아니 나가 강화 커도 받고 제들 장가지하면 또 야침 뭐 땡사고 근데 나가 강화 커도 쓰는 거 주디 표야 요래서 한 대한 분위기 아니 지금 교사가 유디 군조 거기 군조디 랑게 롱고기 남진이 여바이나 배다 롱고 남진 메다 간다리 자주 선바도다 거기 자주 선바 하기 남바도 여바이나 아니 집에 한모들의 망고 주니 아니 표고래스 아니 초고 주고 남바체는 여바다 결혼은 남바체도 여바이나 아니 결혼 용기 차지했잖아 아니 좀 표고요 그래서
Then how to make these offerings, unsurpassed offerings, the offerings that are uncontaminated in this way? For those who have skill in samadhi, whose wisdom is very keen, such individuals may fill all of space, visualize their offerings, the material offerings themselves, filling all of space. The offerings extraordinarily vast and extraordinarily deep and emanated in this way and made as offerings to the sacred that may take the form of the Sambhogakaya, that may be a bodhisattva, or they may be bodhisattvas, the objects of the offering. The personages to whom the offerings are made may be bodhisattvas in the aspect of deities, in which case one, when they make their offering, may emanate offering goddesses that convey the offerings to these personages. And if the individual receiving the offerings, the personages, are in ordained aspect, the aspect of the ordained, then the offerings are made to such individuals.
아니 두가는 봐 주네 아니 딱 망고 주 두고면은 망고 주 아니 줄라 주냐 저거 아 주들 봐 줄라야 주대 자주 근데 배 망고 쇠 나가 강화 봐 쇠네 아니 저거 직구도 저 자침뭐 망고 어딘데 피투야게 매버 쓰나나 봐 매버진 공고래서 아니 공는 갈래갈 쓰면 tempo tempo 차나 제배 share the Yuaga like you. And Jama one thing is the top and put a few to a response.
The visualization of such extensive offerings is the resort, the method left to those who haven't yet achieved samadhi, but they're able to visualize extensive offerings. And from the heart, that is from the heart center, imagine the offerings being emanated, and 10 becoming 100, and 100, 1,000, until the visualization is deliberately made to grow and grow in number until what was in the beginning one offering substance has now multiplied into so many that all of space is filled. And this is the visualization that one engages in so that later the actual talent of samadhi is achieved and one can rapidly produce such extraordinary offerings. In the secret mantra of Vajrayana, there are various liturgies, various ritual liturgies, and in these liturgies one recites mantras and uses mudras, and as they do, gradually, slowly, restfully, engages in these visualizations, visualizing and visualizing, and in the variety of liturgies there are for the variety of deities in the secret mantrayana, there are the varieties of melodies that one may use in their recitation, and as one recites these melodies, sings these melodies, one continues to engage in these visualizations, and each liturgy and each deity has its own visualization, etc. Now, when these offerings must be uncontaminated offerings, these unsurpassed, non-contaminated offerings, such offerings are necessarily characterized by the wisdom of recognizing that the one making the offerings is empty of intrinsic nature, that the offering substances themselves are similarly empty of intrinsic nature, and the personages and objects to whom these offerings are made are empty of intrinsic nature. These three spheres are all empty of intrinsic nature. And the recognition of this is the very seal of emptiness that, placed upon these three, transforms the offering into the uncontaminated offering and the unsurpassed offering. When offerings are uncontaminated in this way, the merit that is conferred upon one is inexhaustible. There is only ever increase to the merit accumulated through such offerings. They are inexhaustible. The merit is inexhaustible. There is no decline to the merit one achieves through such offerings. And this is by the force of sealing the offering with the seal of emptiness, which brings these very benefits. And so we will conclude this moment on offerings here. which means now we move to the second of the 7 branches, prostration. We've concluded the first offering, so we begin the second prostration.
야, 차 챌린스 그래서 뭐다 그게 나온다 차 챌린스 내가 생기들 이내 다들 전다도 시에나 차 그래서 뭐 지당 제외나 랑 교회도 막 대바 차 와서 챌린스도 유대 주 당도 내봐 지당 교세 유대 당도 내봐들라 아니 차 챌린스 전다도 차 챌린스 지기 자체도 된다서 해서
Prostration. Prostration is described in terms of the Tibetan chatsa. 2 syllables convey 2 intertwined meanings. The first, chat, of the elimination of faults. Tsel, the drawing in of good qualities. So prostration is the elimination of faults and the drawing in of good qualities.
다 차체에 가리기 채워라 가르쳐 사도나 가르쳐 열에서나 다들 저듯이 거나 차고랑듯이 접생인다 다 차체에서 좀 어저 차체에 고들라 고숨 루지차 마이차 이지차스 차체에 숨체 열에서
For prostration, the method of prostration, as the root verses will describe, are prostration or homage paid through body, speech, and mind.
도진다 제주도 뭐 고숨 투모도 차체에 열에 아니 고숨 수수수는 차체에 열에서
The prostration may be the united prostration of body, speech, and mind together, and it may be too the prostrations that are respectively prostrations that are physical, verbal, and mental.
도진다 근데 이래서 맞다 차 지단 차 불안하는 또 이기차 들어서 이기차 또 제쇼 개제쇼 이기차 이기 돈은 90 차대하고 책이 유나 아니 나다 류지고는 차체 두고 매고 있나요 차 누구를 했어 난 류다 가지고는 차체 이지고는 차체고 매고도 있네 양고 차 내가 류지고는 차체고 이지고는 차체고 차遇到 차를 말해서
In prostration, principle importance is the mental prostration. For with sincere mental prostration, sincere respect paid mentally, naturally one's physical and verbal prostration will be sincere. If one is merely physically prostrating or verbally prostrating, that does not ensure that the mind will be sincerely engaged.
도시다 아들 나이 너무 더 들어와 나지고는 차세식도 하다 나지고는 차세에서 주주 그런도다 제외는 나지고는 차세가 당보식도 하다 나지고는 차세에서 나지고는 아니 간다 군조로 떼바 아니 군조로 나지고는 구배고는 떼바 제거도 아니 나지고는 차세와 루지고는 구바체와 루도 사람은 고구체와 구뜨거도 아니 루지고는 차세와 어디에 해서
Mind is principle, but as we follow the text here, the prostration first presented is the verbal prostration. And the verbal prostration of speech, is praise, the respectful celebration verbally conveyed. The physical prostration is to bend, to stoop.
나는 차트도 차적고를 시기 예소는 차제진 차가는 주유다 차트도 좀 차단스와 어디 거를 맞대지 시작을 예소는
Now as we describe prostration, I will describe the ordinary way that we make our prostrations.
다 차트도 가나 어디고 차트도 뭐 라니 라버 라니데 두 태문자고 자를 거래서 라니 태문제도 잠바 안에 두스 라바니데 태문제도 베도스 레레제 자기요 말도 자기요 말도 또 자기요 말 라니데 수 고고제 나는 동바 거래서 치도 누구 치기도 소 신이 줬다도 잠바 누구 소소요 봐 근데 나는 동바요 봐 안에 디 태문이도 스테이트 나로 봐도 쭉도 같이 거래서 되게 차트를 차게 해대도 난 드려서
The proper position for one's hands in a prostration is this shape. The palms should not be flattened against each other, but the shape the hands take should resemble a jewel or a gem, and inside there should be space, and the thumbs too should come in slightly, be drawn in slightly into that space. So this is the position for the hand.
예, 딱 치는 누구 속도도 치고야 돼. 아니 치기디 라고 치기 자제가 누구도 치고야 돼. 치디 가르스는 수국을 전대라서 산지 국 수국을 전대. 나는 동바샤고 돼. 나는 이시디 그랑신남다 체 어디 가다 돈이 전대지 하고서 동바니겠다. 예, 산지가 라는 국 전대 치디 수국을 전대지. 아니 네 태모님보다 탑시지 전도제 탑시니다 대박 아니 고 지금 전도나 아니 나보다 좀 잘해서
Now this specific mudra, the specific position, posture of the hands has its purpose, conveys its specific meaning. The shape, the outer shape that the hands make is to convey the form body, the rupakaya that carries out the well-being of others. Inside is empty, there's hollow, left open and empty inside, and this conveys or is symbolic of the wisdom of emptiness, the natural truth body of the Buddha, which is the Buddha's own well-being or welfare. The two thumbs, or rather the Buddha's own purpose, where the form, the rupakaya, is the purpose of others. The two thumbs represent or symbolic of method and wisdom. And so the mudra conveys all of this.
나한테 차 세야 되나? 차 세주다 뭐? 아주 용다도 차 세단데나? 곰차, 장차 스니 세래서. 저 곰차도 그러다 뭐? 양랑아. 라베 티니제. 빼문이제. 빼고 어디를 양랑아 세라서. 양랑아데 마 살마야고 두제네. 안도 고고 제수나 좀 제수나 안데로 곰차 세래서.
Physical prostrations may be made in the extended form and the contracted form. The contracted form of physical prostration is a prostration that brings the 5 limbs of the body into contact with the ground. The 5 limbs are, the 5 parts of the body are the 2 palms and one's 2 knees and one's forehead. So these 5 make contact with the ground.
어디 곰자대다. 다들 지금 장차서 중국 차다만 사람만 안다 신기 동보 사람만 리원나지 소부도 봐. 중심부지 살아 유지한 차 소부 류강산 사람만 잘해야 아니 차세야 아니 장차서
The extended prostration is the full extension of the body, so the entirety of the body comes into contact with the ground, as though a tree were felled, and the whole body, like the full length of a tree, comes into contact with the earth.
이제 안에 차마 체리 마살마 곰자이네다 장자이나 살마 야라가 뚝 수마 살라리잖아 아니 만에야 교를 못 살아
Whether engaging in the contracted prostration or the extended prostration. Contracted, where five parts of the body come into contact with the ground. In either case, one shouldn't linger, loiter there on the ground, but spring right back up.
Oh yeah, cha ma sa la tung ni ya lai lang du zam ba mi kwa chia sana da phen de khari osna ane nge song gi ne de le dan da ne ba de le nyur du theya gi tem de gi che to la jo bu lang gi ora ma cha la cha se ne to si nye ma de ba che nge so ma de ba che lang cha ma sa du sa da ma jo bu lang go de ane ko nge song gi ne le ya jo bu lang tu ya gi tem de gi chu yi dang ane mi kwa chi gi ora so lo.
The reason one springs up, the idea for springing up again, is to establish the connection with springing quickly from the lower realms of cyclic existence, rather than wallowing in the lower realms of cyclic existence. So to shape the very nature of springing from cyclic existence, to shape the idea of an inclination to leap from cyclic existence, one springs up from one's prostration.
Oh yeah, that is that 당보 라원이 태문자네. 아니 당보대 가와자는 지울을 잡아 지울. 그래서 지울을 아주 다 나가 전에는 지울 대신지 걸어서 가서 산 군조다네 질 강가의 질납 조사다 내도 대신 걸어지. 아니 지단 가리어서 지울을 잡고 가서는 한전 두고 다 리얼 하게 다 류기 직하게 다 레버게 짜게 당막이 대사로데 아니 지울을 열어 짜게 당막에서 지울을 열어 어디 내외에서 뒤내들라 아니 자기 또 태모자 대직 자그래 해서 뭐지 아니 이번에 아니 템벌이 자그래 템벌을 자고 가서 템벌이 나도 막 맞주시야 제마치 심지에 되는지도 최시하고 나자 심지에서 랑 가르치고 나 랑 맞주 가르치시하고 나자 심지에 되는지 맞주 지사게 네 가르는 템벌이요 이날 템벌을 찍도 템벌 찍도 다른 수바데 가서는 유만이 기기 짜게 돼 인가 가도 되도 그래 인가 가도 되는 아주 미시베 틀리게 돼서 짜게 누가 침보지어 다들 아주 짜게 누가 내가 아직 미시베 틀리게 땅아서 가는 저 밖에 제마 셈다 롱도 저 쇼도 당부추 제사 네파 담아 뒤사 고축사 강가 되 인가를 해봐 이들 아니 어디를 직 두그래서 어디서는 두그래서 뭐지
The hands drawn together, pressed together in this way, first are drawn to touch the crown. The crown is the wheel that extends great bliss, and it is also the location where blessings descend and enter the body. It is the place where there is great sensitivity and receptivity in the nervous system. And so this is the first place of the body where one touches one's hands. Then one touches their hands to the throat, and this is the seat of speech. And when one engages in the well-being, carrying out the well-being of the welfare of sentient beings through speech, through teaching, through the Dharma, critical is the seat of speech here in the throat chakra. And the third position the hands take is at the heart center. And the heart center is the seat of the indestructible drop. There's a tightly bound knot there. And later, when we describe the movement of subtle mind and subtle wind, it is from this seat, this knot here in the heart center, that the subtle mind and wind first leaves to later return. So these are the three seats. In the context of the secret Mantrayana, this is the crown is the chakra of great bliss. The throat is the chakra of great experience, and the heart is the dharma chakra.
ane sanji kudrube migwache ore sanji kudrube migwache migwache dela sanji kudrube migwache ane phage digwa jaya dela kharjang ora da luji ko na sabe digwa tamje thabe migwache ore yasmo.
Now as one brings their folded hands to the three seats here, first to the crown, the idea and the visualization, or the idea to bear in mind, is first as the hands folded come to the crown. Doing so is for the purpose of achieving the body of the Buddha. So one has this idea that touching one's hands to the crown, one begins to achieve the body of the Buddha. And the purification that takes place through this is the purification of all negativities that one has engaged in physically.
Oh yeah, that jambala tugultama ani sanji sungjuga me bache ores sungjuga balonda me bache ani digwa taadla ngaje sona sabe digwa karina digwa thabe me bache ores.
As one brings their folded hands to the throat, the idea, the aspiration involved in this motion is the idea and aspiration that one does so for the achievement of the speech of the Buddha, and purified through the motion are all negativities accumulated through speech.
Oh yeah, that is not ningala tudu samba ani hiji kono sabe ta khanda tubyadela sanji tudu me bache ani digwa thayadela hiji kono sabe ta nasen nesen logala sobata khanda hiji kono sabe digwa kharina zubura thabe me bache ore.
And as one touches their hands to the heart center, and the idea and aspiration is to achieve the mind of the Buddha, and the motion purifies all negativities carried out mentally, the negativities of wrong view, covetousness, and maliciousness.
Oh yeah, that not a chat you get to any mouse woman's kuya so kadu che ma gugu che de mango chabi didu sama mi wa garchi borna ani rangi ta pe lugi ani lungi nyeba ta tuzuka ba jang ani za umen na lung jubu lungi pe jubu ju da ni pe tingi zi jubu jubegi ani mi wa che ore so
Chak sel du, right?
oh cha so do cha so za me dia gu sa zo ya ma gu ma wo chi do oh the chair to the chi zag da na za mo go da lung zu ba ka ne za umen na lung ju ni and tingi zi mo to do a chebagi mi wa che ore so.
Now, as one engages in the prostration, as one prostrates and one moves their hands and their body up and down in the prostration, the idea of this movement is, just as the body and the hands are moving up and down, the nervous energy, the wind energy of the body that is agitated in the peripheral nervous system is being drawn through this process into the central channel. Quickly drawn into the central channel, all this nervous energy, wind energy, becomes conducive for the achievement of samadhi.
Oh yeah. That in there said that anda to the lung rabat the paka lung tamo this vegetan lung tamo vegetan automatic the woman vegetan lura or the town to yashi and tajinashi new masala ma papu zama and dungetan jama you the and yalandu zama ko ta ne so ne le ya ta mi wa chi wo pen shu tai ba or the ge chi wo res and ta so ta na ma cheba pya di 또 가르스나 쳐봐야지 또 세나가 미고 세나 정하지도 세나가 님고 쳐봐야지 세나가 님고지 쳐봐야 되는 데는 세나도 종으로 세나 써봐지고 다단다 차세 또 가리 님고지 그래서나 나게 님고 하고 어떻게 해서 손으로
As one prostrates, the gross minds, the gross mental energy is reduced, and subtle mind naturally comes to the central channel. And as one comes to the ground and is on the ground momentarily, one should imagine that one's sufferings are cast away, and as one rises rapidly, one should imagine that one is rapidly rising from the lower realms. Making offerings, as I described offerings are an antidote to acquisitiveness or covetousness. Through offerings, one has an antidote to covetousness. Prostration is an antidote to pride.
어두세다 간다 차세하게 배윤다 차세단들이 아니 니주들이라지 레스다 이 마 중기 된다는 데스니 슈기 소음시.
So the benefits of prostration I've described, and the way that prostrations are done I've described here, and now I'll read the verses themselves.
다 진주 불안나는 감봉 가지고 내 차세와 시기도 하다 되는 가르스나 다 자와도 비로다 윤대자 끝남라 다 또야야라 야도 또양 니딘 대다라 네버 군도 중도지 어디다 가지고 차세와 떠서 윤주 자와들의 손으로지.
I read here verse 23 on page 40. To these vast oceans of good qualities I offer praise, a sea of airs and harmonies. May clouds of tuneful eulogy ascend unceasingly before them.
다 지금 저보다게 연대자도 남라 다 연대자도 생기데 아니 상계다 자주 생각도 저다 여바치기 여러 근데스나다 연대자도 생각도 연대스를 아니 캠베 연대다 제베 연대 캠베 연대 아니 최단지기 니루 모습도 캠바 제베 연대 유젤라 아니 거기 다 이제 탐지기 아니 동해 탐지를 껴버 동해 샘제레레기 동해 있나야 배 양모고 껴버 쳐야게 되게 제베 연대 대다다 땜바 남라스 아니 다기다 되베 양겐 되버치기 순거래 손으로지.
To these vast oceans of good qualities, I offer praise, a sea of airs and harmonies. The vast ocean of good qualities are specifically the qualities of omniscience or knowledge and the qualities of love, these two. The qualities of knowledge are specifically the knowledge of the abiding nature of reality. And the qualities of love are the impulses the natural impulse to protect every sentient being, every disciple to be tamed from each and every one of the agonies and discontents they experience. Those with these two qualities, the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, to those I offer these eulogies.
사보 님보 어 대대기 돈에는 되기 있어 아니 되나 간데 되기 있어 아니 다 다긴 알아 저거 비대다와 나 희진은 되게 양 배낭 가졌다 저그 매배기 돈에 아니 고만 고추 고만 볼라 고르래라야 아니 당보다 밖에 랑 류주고 당보 류만 고추 류를 고르래라 제빠도 근데 빠도 나 주네 아니 배다 간다 장가 야마투에 고대에 방고 나가 칸 아니 주베 아니 주베 대다 긴 주버르르르게 아니 배 주버르르르 필은 주버 장매차 어디에 돈 주버 표기 있어 어디에 주버 배당한테 표기 있어 뭐라고
Then how is the eulogy made? The eulogy, the praise, as it is praise for qualities that are immeasurable, to these vast oceans of good qualities, I offer praise, a sea of airs and harmonies. As the good qualities are innumerable, cannot be counted, are boundless and profound, in a way that reflects the profundity, that reflects this profundity, the melodies are similarly innumerable, they're sea-like. I offer praise, a sea of airs and harmonies. When we speak of a sea or something being ocean-like, it means for it to be vast, for it to be great, for it to be deep. So like this, the eulogy, the praising of the good qualities is deep and vast. Just as when we make offerings, we imagine, we multiply the offerings. In a similar way, as we sing praises, as we sing these praises, we may imagine that we replicate ourselves, our bodies, and each body has its head and each head has its tongue, and we multiply our own body, heads and tongues, so that our bodies, heads and tongues fill all of space, and it is these bodies and these tongues that sing these praises that may be equal to the innumerable good qualities of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
호에 되게 쳐봐 대양 아니 다 대양 대표와 대양 아니 가다다 배 난가기 배 난가를 띵 쳐봐 나시 봐 쳐봐 대양배 뒤다 육군도 잘 찍다 많이 봐 유다 뒤 유가도이 뭐이네 뒤가도이 뭐이냐 아니 되게군도 아니 쳐봐 종아 규칙 아니라는 놀람다 아니 저거 미과 제아래서
Make clouds of tuneful eulogy ascend unceasingly before them. The praises billow through all of space and time, so that these aren't praises sung once, but sung for all time, in all places.
야, 다시 되게 양이 거는 저거 필요하세요. 다른 마지 거는 저거 필요하디 다 자와 되셔. 다들 루지 거는 차세야게. 저거 말다디 차세야 된다. 다 루지 거는 차세야게 자와디 아니 되셔. 두숨 셰베 산지 군 최다 초지 초제라 시두군지 단위지 루두 빼니 다 자체를 저들이 자송하시노.
So verse 23 is a description of verbal praise sung. This is followed by a description of physical prostration. Verse 24, to Buddhas of the past, the present, and all future time, and to the Dharma and some sublime assembly, with bodies many as the grains of dust upon the earth, I will prostrate and bow.
도제 다 가르스나다 군조 숨라다 최바 피석 유 군조 숨라 아니 최바 가다 차 세약 유디라 군조 숨제 다 군조 숨라 아니 차 가르책이 베다 차 사단으로 네 가르책이 베스 어디 디테일 제가 디 제와디 가르스나 그차 세석 유디 가르스나 다이나시 제마도다 또 유디라 군조 숨제 아니 군조들라 산지 군조들라 아니 오마 폐 사교 산지 지den도 전 사교 산지 단다 전 심의 산지 마음벌로 전부주의 산지 순간의 자책이 있 아니 쳐들어야 쳐 가진어도 시반나지 들었다 고된들 만대니체 아니 소지 천나라서도 긴둘라 아니 자책이 있어 자책사 유리체 아니 세상 가지 생기면은 신기 등이 늘어도 버리죠. 유튜브에 다기 차 유튜브에는 다자셀 소다 간데 유튜브에 차책이 있어. 어디 땡겨래 손으로.
The object of the physical prostration is, just as before, the three jewels. The prostration is made to the three jewels as the object. Now, how is it done? It's as though we were asked, how does one make this prostration? Well, we do it in this way. We do the prostration to the three jewels. The three jewels are the Buddhas that have come to this earth already, come to this world already, those that are in the process of coming, and those to come. All three, the Buddhas of these three times, to all Buddhas, one prostrates. And one prostrates to the Dharma as well. As I said before, the Dharma is the Dharma of cessation and of the path. These two are the Dharma, and one also prostrates to the Sangha. And so this is the manner of the prostration. With bodies many as the grains of dust upon the earth, I will prostrate and bow. These two lines describe the manner in which, the very way in which one actually prostrates.
yes, 다 디디 차 세비다 마다 미과 제야당 아니 근데 지고르스나다 시두 꾸지 당이지 시두 신기 둘 아니 꾸지 당다냐 봐 차세게 신기 둘을 한게 다 차세사기 아니 답랑 루기 뭐게 차스도 랑게 차스도 스파스 와라 사요 사디기 아니 다 루기 당다 냐봐 아니 차스기 예스 제가 다 신기 뒤에 신기 차스기서 다 신기 둘 생에데 아니 나라도 다 단다 즉 나는 당보다 세리보다 강하게 다 뒤된다 뒤 차랍다 뒤 참아서야 돼서 뭐 마시나 아니 신기 뒤 생에 뭐 신기 말아서 뒤된다 뒤 차랍대 So for
the visualization of the prostration, the physical prostration, the picture of such a prostration is a picture in which bodies as many as the grains of dust upon the earth prostrate and bow. Upon the earth is the site, the place where the prostration takes place. So all the particles of earth beneath one as they prostrate, this is upon the earth as it is referred to here. And between Buddhists and scientists, all alike speak of particles that are grosser and finer. And so to have a rough understanding of particles themselves becomes important here.
yeah, that's she do when you tiny said the shing to do said that Pejanala, Mombanala, Momba Zoganala, Chetanter, Momba Zoganala, and the Shingi to use in the countries of Modus Chayoresana. And that Kage do to 10 sing the la, and in Javachana, that Logan Susu, Minda, Test, Minda, Yor, Ina Yang, that and the Lobe Ida, and the Gobulu, another. And to 10 that under the Shingi to use. Dunyedi ani kandejina mo sung yore sena ani du tarap dugi nane be shindu tamo o dila mo sung yore sena ta du tarap singedi ani ta kandeji yore sena ani du tarap singedi ta tamo mo shyala ya dugi to dangi ani rimbato gezu yore di mo shen yore ta rimba tangbo de ga ko ma lawa na tangbo de du tarap sikse dine dutense dine jak duyse dine chu duyse dine rebongi duyse dine luk duyse dine lang duyse dine nimewese duyse o dine duygi tanga jadando o duten ngo shenla o digi digi ala ngebardo ngo shen go reso.
Presentation, the relevant presentation of particles, of particle physics, is drawn from the Abhidharma Kosha. And there are various scholars presenting this physics in various ways, but we will refer to the presentation according to Vasubandhu and Nagarjuna and follow their manner of identifying particles and their interpretation that the particles meant here are the very finest particles, the very smallest particles. And in this model of particle physics relevant here, there are eight kinds of particles, and they are the very finest particle, then the particle, then the iron particle, then the water particle, the rabbit particle, the sheep particle, the ox particle, and finally the eighth, the particle visible in the mote of a sunbeam.
Oh yeah, that was one to do that. That Tambo Marandu, that Dujin, Sidan, that Dugi Nane, Marandu, that's cheese soups, shall tuya. Marandu make you ombo you to shall tuya, you ten chiga. Make ombo you to shall two, so that today on make tonga given and today chungsho, till any carcers, you may say this. You may say this, the mother make tongue. 지단 미기 통 투가 찔라야 미기 통야기 단에 다 중쇼직 내질라는 니메르세 뒤스 민다즈레서.
These are 8 particles of different size, and we'll begin with the largest particle, which is the particle visible to the naked eye, just barely visible to the naked eye, the smallest particle visible to the eye, one that the eye is able to see, and this is the particle in a mote lit by a sunbeam.
다 간다가서 뒤진 다들 니메르세 뒤스게디 아니 배진은 다 간데시여라서나 맞아 그 뒤디 뒤인 도시 아주 다 수수 치를 조세 간도 여바 이나양 아니 미 오고 철두고 말에 개 철두고 말았어. 딱고 님의 왜 샤르용도 아니 거 뒤디 랑게 조세도 치다 땅하는데 답답도 땅 지금 제바 이나 아니 뒤디야 랑게로 왔어. 뒤디 랑두자 아니 님의 왜를 때네. 아니 랑게 뒤 통투야. 다 뒤대지 어디라 다 님의 왜세 뒤스. 어디라 그래서.
Now the sun mote particle, the mote particle, the particle is there lying on the table. It's settled onto the table, but it isn't visible as it rests on the table. But if a beam of light shines and one dusts or disturbs the particles on the table, then they'll rise up, and lit by the sunbeam, there'll be a mote, and in that mote, one will be able to see this size of particle, and so it's referred to as the mote particle.
야, 딱 같으면 통수야 되는 중 착쇼듯이. 다 딜라야 차 뒤는 거네. 차 뒤는 거네. 아니 차 찍라. 아니 랑둘스. 이와체. 다 랑두 대양 차 뒤는 거네. 아니 차 찍라. 아니 룩둘스. 다 룩둘 대양 차 뒤는 거네. 차 찍라 레보그 뒤. 데 레보그 뒤 대양 차 뒤는 거네. 차 찍라 추두. 추두 대양 차 뒤는 거네. 아니 차지라 작둘 다 작둘 디 차둘라 거네 아니 차지라 두텐스 다 두텐디 아니 다 차둘라 거네 총조 차와 따바 신 딜레 차와 매바 타쇼드 차와 인자 아니 딜레 두텐 차모스 두 타랍스 오 딜레지는 거는 아니 뭐수고 여래서
Beginning with the mote particle as the largest particle, which is just barely visible to the naked eye. When one steps down 7 times to the particle 7 times finer than this mote particle, such a particle is the ox particle. 7 times finer still than the ox particle is the sheep particle. 7 times finer than the sheep particle is the rabbit particle. 7 times finer than the rabbit particle is the water particle. 7 times finer than the water particle is the iron particle. 7 times finer still than the iron particle is the particle. 7 times finer than this particle is the finest particle.
야, 다 지대데 딱 한다 전다도 다 정보 세 잡사데 니메요세 둘레 세 잡네 디네 뒤진다 타마데 아니 뒤진 참모스 다 가지고 말아도 다 체리고 있는 다 거기다 딱지 시설 다 뒤진 참모세 다 뒤진 참모로 아니 다 가르쳐 차 요래 요 말에 콜라 칸데 요 다 가지고 제바 치사기 시기 다 참모 누기나는 차쇼데 어디 차대요 그래서
One begins with the finest particle barely visible to the naked eye, and by increments finer and finer, one arrives at the finest particle. In any analysis by all of those scientists who analyze phenomena, one comes down to the quantum particle and questions regarding whether such a particle is partless or not occupy such physicists. In any case, one comes to the very finest measured particle.
스타트 어때 뒤진생 어디다 들리지요? 스타트 뒤진생 그 무슨 맞지? 스타트는 랑기 다 번사 사도 도도 랑 라바나라 송제가 사지 렘바이나 아니 사디나라 뒤진기 장가 잡투야 열었으나 뒤진의 바 귤네 장가 잡투야 열었으나 요 말어 왔어. 어디지서?
So we've got that then. We can identify such fine particles. Now, if one picks up a handful of dirt and wonders, can I count every last particle in this handful of dirt? Of course you cannot.
제가 다 인디서 봤다 먼저 차체서 수수마 수구마 년 차체서 사디기 가족해부도 사디기 야디다 사제디 뒤쟁기 찌네. 아니 차체베기 미국 제와이나 아니 대가지 차체 표현 토브레 제산 차식치도 장매 장매체 표현 톱세 어디되기 전에 리시작이 요래서
So as one prostrates as described here, with bodies many as grains of dust upon the earth, and the grains of dust upon the earth meant here are all of those that are under one's body as one lies out in their prostration. If one visualizes in such a way, the number of particles involved in the visualization are innumerable, and equally innumerable or uncountable is the merit accumulated by this prostration.
Oh yeah, that Nazuki that Rangita and the Tutin Tinita, Sangajamotu, Kaji Shigi or Ine Koya. That under Suzuki, Aranzuki, Chikpage, Jawa Lanjo, Tangatsiwina, Telejan, Tangamanga Yuba. Nazuki, Jawa Lanjo, the Aranzuka, Jawa Tomama, Talaba, the Jawa Lanjo, the Tangajawina, Tangajamatu, and the Sag Tutin, Tangajamatu and Nashi, and to Jawa the Telejan Manga Yores. 재산 땅 알아도 깨와 몽골로 싸샤게 이거지기 샤고 요인도 아니 다 대랑이 차를 제대로 미고데 데르시는 차 세워 있나 아니 다베를 이거 손놈 디기 또 이거 다도 아니 이거 또 전부 다 두어요 와다 손놈 섭도야 또 장매 봤어야 이거 샤야 장매 봐샤도 어디게 개변 친구 열에서
Now, as a person visualizes in this way, and the earth pressed by the body in the prostration has innumerable particles. Each person, too, in this prostration, if they were to attempt to count their innumerable previous lives, there would be more uncountable previous lives that they had taken than these uncountable particles of earth. Since rebirths have been taken continually since beginningless samsara, like the particles of earth are uncountable, innumerable, so too are the rebirths one has already taken, uncountable and innumerable. And in each uncountable and innumerable rebirth, one has engaged in non-virtues. And as a result, one's non-virtues are innumerable. But through such a visualization, such an extensive visualization with each body equal in number to the number of grains, particles of earth, one is accumulating untold merit, and that accumulation of merit is able to purify and eliminate the non-virtues accumulated since beginningless time, and so the value of the visualization.
거의 다 다들 특성바디 신기 튜닝 유럽대 봐 이제 신기 튜닝 신기 튜닝세 듀르기 안에 다 어디 튜닝 배제나 되지 잡아 되지 알았어 아니 디나신 전에다 불안게 배 신기 튜닝 진이 장단냐 차 류뚜네 차 세워이나 아니 평균 장매가 열었어 아니 근데 드링지다 대샤다 류지고 다다 차 배망고 열었어 대샤 아니 제마들만 되네 아주디 와도 차 표현되기 못되지 지슈고 있어 안 된대래 세상 다 간다 밖에 가라서 다 땡이 찍찍스들 다 차게 뒤들 표현도 시도도 뭐 동번인데 차 같은데 저 시자한테 막고 열어서 세상 다 간다 가라서 손남지 싸네 내가 지 거기 두고나 아니 그 손남 고랑 또기 아니 저가가 표현 또 전부 대마다 장매가 대야도 저가가 용투고 열었어 세상 저가가 땅가라서 개치시고도 또 꿀웅 아니 꿀웅 것도 아니 차 밖에서 랑 구조로 그거는 차 세가 있나 아니 랑이 표현되게 좀 그래 표현되게 좋아 있나 아니 랑이 수수고 삼벽에 삼정한 것도 그래 동의 시와체야 대어두어체야 감각이 용해하게 쭉 손은 뒤 가르쳐서 꿀웅 수업을해서 어디게 다 시행을 해서 아니 드린 대샤는 더 트레이닝해서
So the scriptural tradition describes prostration and the merit of prostration in these extraordinary ways. With bodies many as the grains of dust upon the earth, I will prostrate and bow. Prostration, physical homage, entails the accumulation of incalculable merit. So here we'll stop for today. And next week we will continue with this description of homage, prostration. Now, when prostration, in the practice of prostration, with its subtle and extraordinary benefits, especially through the force of samadhi, the description of this, of prostration itself becomes very subtle, even subtler than the presentation of the absence of intrinsic nature. And the prostration accumulates tremendous merit. The merit is untold, and innumerable are the benefits. These innumerable benefits originally come from, of course, one's intention. When one has reverence for the sacred, then as a result, it comes to pass that one's suffering and discontents are eliminated and one achieves contentment. This is achievable through the force of merit. Merit itself is determined by one's intention. So we will end here for today, and we can have a question and answer exchange.
Yes. Okay.
Prostration.
땡이지 두시다 차체기 땡이지 추바페기 땡이지 거로 봄가시 두고 열에서 거지.
The samadhi of prostration, the samadhi of offering, samadhi to be achieved in these practices is the object here.
Okay, thank you again, Islam. So I have been trying to practice these visualizations. And my question is, well, about the particles and maybe all things being made up of particles and things, that's fine for me. But when I think of the particle and as I prostrate, do I visualize myself in those particles or some, each of those particles, what could I visualize as what those particles might be, other than just a particle, or maybe there are these lists of particles that you've given, or are they, what can you give, like maybe a finer detail of what I could visualize as what those particles might be?
Also, ngani jangne kap dang bot shi che tene kesi ki somba dang tuen che ane cha sa du ane möbe dende ane che tap che gi ane ine de na de de chen de so so ge hola nemi de chen ane jang me ba ane ye be möbe ane che du simla sharwa 아니 zoya kariyore penati 아니 도트엔 제제 도트엔 나이신 메브치그르베 야메나 수수기 루기 차체 아니 도트엔 제제라 아니 여베 메브치그르베 야메나 아니 도트엔 덴조아니 남은 나초 여바디 페나니티 민자와 게 여바나이신 아니 도트엔 민자와 아니 카르나카 민자와 아니 게 아니 요바시르산데 아니 메베체거르베 페나 땡아라 아니 락바차이기 아니 메베체당직 아니 소르치 좋아.
민고 시기도 뭐 그런 것도 하스나 편유식으로 와서 차 편유식으로 와서 차 편유식도 좀 땅아주 차지 체도 좀 발라서 아니 다 수수기 차 체도 좀 먼저 제가 차 민고 지당 아주 다다 좋아하는 그런 내잖아. 어떻게 땅 맛이 땅에 땅도 주주도 쉬어이나 다 수수기 민보치도 잠바 다다디 빼져난 셰드 신기 뒤니 너럽 뚜바 인스라로 신기 뒤다 냠베게 아니 루마 그베 뚜기 인스라로 와 당가만 뭐 쉬우지 배 당가 야마투 이야기 아니 루 그바치기 인스 라게티라다 다디 뒤니 빼디 가르샤나다 삼로당도 근데 땅스라 보여 말다 당아도 신기 뒤니세네 신기 뒤닝세 뒤닝딜다 아니 맞아 뭐였어 나죠와 아니 이게 망고 요르스 타고 신기 뒤닝세는 뭐시야니 빼라 당아도 단다데 뭐 저기 시다한테 셰버와 대단다 수수그 미국 지도 잠바 뒤다데 망고 당가데 망고 삼땅 말다 빼 간다는 얘기 차트에서 신기 당가데 뺐다 수수그 빼 장가 야마도야 간다다 수수기 거기에 차직 새 수준 류 차직 세계 여러 때차 되게 세야 되게 딱 고체네 아니 차 장매 받는데 제 투야 세계 여밖에 미국이야 미국이야 되라서 딱 한데 미국 치고야 균제도 가려서나 아주
那这种肉松，
너도
对方会，
야야
那把对方会有肉松，哎， 哎呀，
딱 한다 미국 지도 잡았다 단단한 되게 빼져나는 되게 거기 셰 여러 와서 되게 뭐 소야게 단단한 얘기 뭐 받지 좋기요네 되게 되게 질라고 여래 그 수수기 선배나 뭐 셰야 당 아니 삼루땅이 땅에 유역에 사제를 째버와 아니 수 당고 tâm là mà có được cái sau mà có tăng nhiều mà ta chạm mà có sẽ cái nhiều xem gì mình có chỉ đang rồi xem gì tham gì 수수 염도 차 세계 mi có chỉ này đi cái 야 랑이 깨와 통하게 받네 랑에 xem gì lưu 가져 랑이 랑을 장가다 냐면 차 세계 mi có chỉ này đi 어디에 간다다 차 앞에 찍히지 망고 세계 유역에 mi có chỉ 꼴롱 땅 세거든 이쪽으로 해서 यहाँ बगे दुजें दां देदा दी पेश है जो पूरा समझ तांगे देना अने मिगो मंगुर तेल चितु को मारो ता दांगा तो कमी हो मारो आस कम साना काले हो मारो सेम से कॉम्बटेंस साना हर चीने चितु करे चिया मिगो योरे को सेम की चितु मादो दी कोबा सेम ला कोम्मा को लाला मादो कम साना हर इना सेम की चितु करे सेम की येने कोरा कोबा सेम की येने o te reste da tamu ale magongo de samu de tamu reso komi sana ne karina chitu
So for this visualization, really the root verse here, the verse is with bodies many as the grains of dust upon the earth, I will prostrate and bow. With bodies as many as the grains of dust. So in the prostration, the verse describes a visualization in which the number of bodies is equal to the number of grains of dust. And now to go into a really detailed description of that really addresses the full import of your question would take too much time, so I'll just respond in short. Especially the focus, the thrust of this is that the individual prostrating imagine that more than one body is engaged in prostration, that in fact innumerable, uncountable bodies are engaged in this physical expression of homage and veneration. And so for the purpose of measurement, really, for the purpose of measurement, giving us a sort of a scale to imagine a number, I've brought the presentation as it's found, the particle physics of the Abhidharma. Not so that you have that in mind as you're prostrating. Oh, there are these eight sorts of particles. it isn't so that you have that in mind, but it's so that you have this scale. So you have this idea of scale and number, so that in a prostration, right, you can imagine that particles are more numerous than one's own single body. And so one has engaged in prostration many bodies as numerous as particles that there are. And so it was for the purpose of scale that I mentioned the presentation of the Abhidharma. And it's just some material for you to think about for orienting yourself. But the real purpose of this visualization is to develop the idea that I'm numerous as I prostrate. And that visualization, that idea may be supported by another scale, which is the scale of the sheer number of sentient beings. All sentient beings are prostrating along with me, as I am numerous. I am as numerous as all sentient beings. Or as I prostrate, I am as numerous as all the countless bodies I have taken up in my previous life since beginningless time. So numerous am I as I engage in this prostration. And the objective is to be more than one body during the prostration, which is a development of one's intention as they engage in the prostration. Now, all of this in its extensiveness is challenging, but the mind, the most salient quality of the mind is that it is sensitive and may be sensitized to new perceptions and ideas. It grows accustomed to new impressions. And so with through the process of growing accustomed to this visualization, one will eventually find that one is easily able to picture in this way.
쌤 생일이다. 각도지 공부된 뭐 있나요? 그렇게 타요 말 쌤 공부를 타요 말았어. 쌤 공부를 주는 타요 말 제가 쌤 꼭 각도 공부 있나요? 공부되게 용거를 세단다. 만족을 된다도 미국한테 지고야 인생 가려였으나 정보가 좀 미 파도도 가려였으나 쌤제 담제기 된 부투바 랑게 간다르 쌤제 담제기 되어 때투와 동에세 투야 여바디 미 타도레 이 루버 체발라 모두 땡이징이 네버드메나 이 두투 말에 땡이징이 네버 두야게 전달 한당 가지고 미국 쌤제 선물다 뭐다 고바텐 아니 왜 소놈 사 소놈 자친구 싸야 아니 땡이징 또 전부 두야게 근데 규디 모두 싸고 여와 이 싸야게 전달 한당 가지고 쌤네 또 매바친 쌤네 또 선물 싸 겁니 선물 두개 쳐대 파가니까 선물 약에 쳐도 공부chen 먼저 마 땡이징 두요 땡이징 두요 아니 쳐봐 자친구 표현 소놈 자친구 싸다 용거리 이 싸서는 손 쌤제기 되는 두야게 차상 차진 차상랑 도바 용거와 어디기기다 이르버디기다 용야게 차지데 한당 가지고 두야게 전달 아니 다 쳐봐도야 차세야 되게 다 리버티 샘도 맞아 시작이 어려서
The most salient quality of the mind is its boundless growth, its boundless sensitization to impressions. The mind, as it grows accustomed to new impressions, may grow even more to become accustomed to even further reaches of the plausible. And so it's for this reason that we engage in these visualizations, because ultimately our objective is to achieve the welfare of all vulnerable sentient beings, to dispel the suffering of every last vulnerable sentient being, and to achieve contentment for every last sentient being. And in order to do this, one must have an extraordinary skill in samadhi, for without that samadhi, this is inconceivable. And so practices for the purpose of developing the power of samadhi that are the process of accumulating causes for the samadhi that will make possible carrying out the well-being of sentient beings is what calls for these very practices designed to sensitize the mind, to accustom the mind to these ever more extensive impressions, so that one may engage more and more with that which is constructive and less with that which is destructive, and thereby, through this practice, develop the power of samadhi and develop the accumulation of merit that will ultimately become the condition that qualifies one to actually carry out the well-being of all sentient beings. And so one engages in these practices of offering, making offerings and prostrations in this manner as the method for ultimately achieving the means for achieving the well-being of sentient beings.
Yeah,
Any other questions? Then we might have a vacation.
Yeah, I got the time also Kesho time also the Yala to Basili also Sonam Sai that you with those chat the rest in a lot of body. Then the Yabuja Ratrubayina. I mean that also with Choga Taya, that's Japan chair, Choga Taya, the Zukangalo, that Yala to Bati made in the room as your teacher and it's Suzuki test. 표가 지도도 표가 제바데 때 삼중 시럽 tem바데 시신 때 돼서 검점 하는 수도 공부 때때때때래나 아니 아무 다들 이나면은 도바사고 해야 되는데 다들 연구 말에 삼텐데 semana 직 수수게 삼마토야 되는데 곧 살직지 니제 숨지 겁나 아니 레라고 강에 계속 강에 친구 말했어 sem this combaten maden chigi chebar mado sem no combaten sanan dizo lelago yongtuya res ta dile khaga ro de na tamado chanju sem kese ya dizo ina this khago yoras ade chanju sem kese combaten bichu cheng mar sem je tamje rang mai ba pe mo du she rang la ke yoi ke ne ane kola zawar te ane kola pe rang le ta chewa de zawar te tu ya de de ani 영화 보고 열어서 근데 자주 생각해서 깨서 가가지고 막 아무도 쌤이 나가지 공부해야다 늦을라 내가 저기 쌤 배에서 공부 제시하나 항상 고민 그랬어 제가 늦을 때에서 주변에 삼로당 때도 공격 안 미버체 근데 지금은 가르치기 이제 숨지 않은 항상 고민도 그랬어 어디에 제가 되는데 때에서 간다 수주 쌤랑 가지고 검토도 보면이다 개진 거 찾아요 그래서 그렇지
The seven branch offering is an offering for the accumulation of merit. It comes to be cause for the accumulation of merit. And for that reason, because it's useful in this way, it's found in just about every ritual practice, every long life puja. They'll all have this seven branch offering. So the seven branch offering with visualizations of prostration and visualizations of offering. 1, begins to practice through their exposure to, through listening to teachings on the seven branch offering. And then through those, through that study, one develops the wisdom of contemplation as one then meditates upon offering and prostration and employs mindfulness and vigilance in meditation and examines and engages in these practices. Doubts may arise. Is it, I doubt it. Is this such a thing possible? I have my doubts. One might have their doubts as they meditate, but with repeated exposure to the process of visualization and the offering and the prostration practice, the mind grows accustomed to the new impressions that it designs. And with these new impressions and repeated exposure, then the mind becomes accustomed and it grows more natural for the mind. And so this process is certain to occur. More challenging than that is the development of bodhicitta, because bodhicitta entails the recognition of every sentient being as one's mother, and the experience of every sentient being as one's mother, and then an appreciation and fondness for every sentient being, a fondness that is greater than one's like or appreciation for oneself even. And this is very challenging, but this too, with repeated exposure, will sensitize the mind to this impression. And so with these, so that this process takes place, we engage in these visualizations. And with one visualization followed by the next and the next, naturally the mind grows sensitive to the new impressions and grows accustomed to the new impressions.
아니 최배 양라다 차 표현 쉐발라 때베 개와텔라 때네 아니 나랑 좀 내가 불리기 등에 들리고 내나다 시와 셈나를 대화 또신 그 대회 강화 아니 나랑 좀 고유 잡을린 대양 단단하게 내 양나 마루가 강에 되게 봐 시와 아니 지네 병아랑 소소를 선제를 하나가 되버 그 시대 별을 롱죄 줘야 돼. 내가 나라는 뭐 없는 거 치료지. 아니 뭐는 되게 예술이지.
So it's grown cold now. The weather's cold, and that's caused me to think that maybe it's a good idea if I reduce the amount of time slightly that I lecture, and for 5 minutes, maybe at the end of every class, we also meditate. We contemplate and exercise samadhi. If we were to do that, I think it would be very constructive. So in the future, perhaps I will leave 10 minutes for meditation at the end. But for now, for today, we will go right to our closing prayers and dedicate the virtue of contemplating the branches of offering and prostration to the physical contentment, the elimination of pain and sickness in the body, and dedicate this virtue to the mind being filled with satisfaction. And worldwide, we dedicate the virtue of this lesson to the pacification of the pandemic and all violent conflict, and also that each sentient being knows contentment and peace. So with this in mind, we recite our closing prayers. From my two collections, vastest faith that I have amassed, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of the paths of the complete teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time, with my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined. May I offer this treasure of happiness to all sentient beings. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by following the complete graduated path to enlightenment and the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings that eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent path never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may he always be assisted by the Mighty One, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. I dedicate whatever virtues I've ever collected for the benefit of all teachings and sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drapa to shine forever. In the land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful sinners and guilt, please remain until cyclic existence is ended. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with a dedication praised as the best by the victorious Tuscan ones of the three times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva deed. May the supreme jewel Bodhisattva that has not arisen rise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Thank you. You're so kind. The cause for samadhi has begun.